Hello, everyone, and good morning. Whoa. Wow.
What is happening?
Sorry about that. I had a little bit of a delay on my end, so good morning.
Good morning, Chuck. How are you?
I'm well. Good evening, Lukey. How are you in Paris?
Well, it's not really the evening. It's 3 p.m. But yeah, it's gray out, and but everything's great.
Good tea time. So,
Yes.
yeah, I had my YouTube window open, so the logo started playing again, and I freaked out a little bit. I had a little bit of a panic. This is what happens when we've got Julie on. Hey, Julie. Good morning.
Actually,
So, yeah, if you're on in chat, go ahead and say hey to us. We're hanging out actually in StreamYard, so we don't see the list of folks that are on, but if you comment, we can see you. We can say hey. Hey, Seraph, how you doing? Oh, New York. Oh my
it's
gosh. I bet it's cold there.
probably
Um,
colder than here. Here it's cold, but it's manageable.
yeah, we are 5 Fahrenheit, which I guess is negative 15 Celsius right now here in Ohio.
Oh, damn! It's around like 3 degrees Celsius here, which is I don't know. I'm not good at translating Celsius to Fahrenheit.
37. So you're above freezing.
Yeah.
That's 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 balmy as far as I'm concerned. I'd be wearing shorts. So, oh man.
Yeah, really excited for our first dev chat for this new year. Uh, Hopefully the first of a long series.
Yeah, yeah. So for folks that have been around for a while, this is something, man, we used to do pretty regularly a couple years ago. We kind of fell off doing them. We got busy. We were doing the dev cons and the dev bits, and that kind of filled up a lot of our time. But we thought this would be kind of more fun to bring back. It's a little more casual. Gives us an opportunity to chat with folks, just kind of show off things that we're working on. Lukey's got a really cool thing he built end of last year that we're going to be talking about quite a bit today. But it doesn't have to just be that. Like we can talk about kind of whatever. If you've got questions you want to bring to us, I can't guarantee we can troubleshoot particular problems, but we can certainly point you in the right direction, and we can kind of continue conversations in Discord. But we want to talk with y'all. We want, that's the whole point of this, is to sort of understand what you're building, what we can do to help you, but also kind of give you some ideas of kind of what we're building too. We do typically, we'll put this up on YouTube later if we can remember how to do it. It's been a while since we've done one. But we'll try and put this up later, and then we're going to try and get on a cadence for this. But this one's just kind of like hey, let's start the new year off right.
So I see there's a few more people on. Oh, someone just left.
Oh, well, maybe we can start getting into some content, and people will be a little bit more excited. So,
Yeah.
why don't you tell us a little bit about SwagSearch?
SwagSearch is so. I will start by explaining what it is, and then I will show what it is. So a few months back, we had a discussion with people from the team, and we were about to head to the AWS reInvent 2024 event. And someone from the team was like, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool like this year to build a tool, a small product that will help attendees to find swag at conferences?" And so that's exactly what we did. We built SwagSearch, which is a platform to search for swag at events, conferences, meetups, if if some meetups have swag. But yeah, and so without further ado, here is what SwagSearch looks like. So this was the SwagSearch from AWS reInvent. We can see here that there is 323 swag listed here. You can sort the swag by recent, favorite. You can get random swag here. And yeah, it's a swag discovery platform, which was a great opportunity for me to dig into code again after this year of being 100% full-time DevRel. And yeah, I'd like to show you more, but tell me if there's some part of it that you're interested in. So you can search for swag, you can search for companies, you can oops. You can favorite some swag and then find them here. Like the Star Wars lightsaber, which was like our most favorite swag. Gitpod, of course. Who doesn't dream to own a lightsaber? Huh?
Oh man, so cool. Yeah, there was some really good stuff. And just a little behind the scenes, like, how did the swag get into SwagSearch? There was literally like an army of folks just running around the conference floor, like talking to people in booths, asking permission, taking pictures, putting it in. And then the booth people themselves are putting some of it in too. We're still trying to kind of figure out how this is going to be. Let's go swag searching. Hey, Brian, how you doing? Good to see you.
Hey, Brian, I'm replacing you now as a co-host.
Yeah, so Brian used to help us out with DevChats back when we used to do it. Brian was kind of the driver of it, so we're glad to have you back here for it. But yeah, so we're one of the things we're thinking about is how do we not productize this, but how do we at least make it so that like if you're hosting a conference and there are people with swag, you could offer this for your conference as well. But a lot of thought kind of went into it. I think Lukey, why don't you start by you're kind of showing the swag itself, since this is like an Algolia dev chat, maybe we can start with the index and go backwards from there, like show kind of a little bit what the index looks like and then show what the UI looks like on top of it.
Okay, so let me log in to my Algolia dashboard.
Okay. And if you folks don't know Lukey, like you've probably seen him at DevCons and things like that. Lukey, I always refer to him as our mad genius. Lukey built our Places clone. Like if you know our Places from Reddit, where you can kind of click on the pixels to draw. He built a version of that uses an Algolia index as the state manager for the canvas. He built, what was the last thing you built? It was with the drop shadows video using only CSS drop shadows.
Yes, exactly. So all done. I just need to log into my Algolia account because.
So this is actually kind of like super practical from a Lukey perspective. This is probably one of the most meat and potatoes applications you've built in a while.
Yes, yes, but I have to say that the video in CSS one was really I really enjoyed working on it. It was one of my greatest experiments from my point of view from last year, and I was happy to finally work on something that was more substantial. So yeah, you know what? I will start with the company. So this
Why don't you give us like a plus or a couple pluses just so the font's a little bit bigger.
Of course.
Cool. Is that good for folks? If anyone's having trouble reading it, just shout out in the chat, but we'll go with that.
So basically what we started doing is, so the first part was going on the AWS website because SwagSearch was initially meant for the AWS
Reinvent, yeah.
AWS reInvent event. So they had a page where they featured all the names of all the companies that were participating to this event. So just wrote a node script that was getting all the names of these companies. And then I used some online services, online APIs to get so the domain and some data about these companies. And from there, I could fill this index with 423 companies inside. And every company got these objects. So of course, an object ID, the company object containing the name of the company and the slug of the company, some infos like the domain, some more information like Crunchbase info if I could find some, the meta description of the company, the logo of the company, the booth, of course, where it was present on the conference floor. But I will expand on that later because this is really interesting. Why we needed the booth ID. And then an empty array that was with the time that we filled up with object IDs. So here you can see that Algolia got a lot of swags, and so this is the object ID of the swags. The type of object it is, because there is two kind of objects for SwagSearch. There is the company type and the swag type. and then it's just a lot of companies listed. They all have the same kind of attributes. The objects they all have the same attributes. So yeah.
This is the piece that maybe I didn't catch because I wasn't, I was the one running around on the floor as opposed to building this. So there's an object type. Does that mean that there's a single index that contains both the swag and the companies?
No, that was what I was saying. Yeah, so I gave a small talk at the DevBit about this. So there is actually, for one SwagSearch experience, I see you need at least 5 or 6 different indexes.
Okay.
So this is the first one.
Got it. Okay.
And so you see, for instance, Prosper Ops, they have one swag ID here.
Mm-hmm.
And now if I go up and look at reinvent swags and type in Prosper Ops, we can see that well, actually there's 2, but this one, so probably one of them has been removed. But yeah, so these 2 object IDs are the Prosper Ops swags. So this is the index only for swag.
Okay.
For Algolia, you can see that there's a lot of Algolia swags. This is the object ID. So there's more attributes. So we have the image URL, some base64 data representation of the image, and I will expand on that later. The object type, which is swag, and the parent ID, which is the object ID of the Algolia company.
Got it.
Let me go back there.
And then based on these naming conventions, it sounds like we've got index-based isolation per conference as well.
Yes.
So, yep.
And here, so that I can show you Algolia, if I get this, I go back there, type in, well, it's fine because typo tolerance.
Yeah.
So here you can see there's a lot of swag IDs, and if I look for the object ID, I just checked on the other index, which is this one, the sticker index to impress. We can see that the object ID is here, which allows us then, if I type Algolia, to show all the swag. So this is the specific swag I was looking at. Cool. All the swag that Algolia had on the floor.
Nice. Cool.
So now you've seen that on the company index, there is the booth ID. Mm. So it's plural because sometimes some companies were multiple booths. So this is the number of our booths. And if I go back on SwagSearch, thanks to a colleague of mine, Loris, we got to make it so that there were this small highlight, a small pin on the map showing the booth we were at. It's a super small booth. So yeah, the map is still not really good quality because it's heavy. It's heavy work to make on several companies, like to run a script against like every companies. So we decided also for the browser to keep it like at a certain level of quality that will ensure that the website will load perfectly. And yeah, we could have made it better quality, but it would have bring some delays and stuff like this.
Yeah, the biggest kind of the one of the overarching things that we had to keep in the back of our head as we were building this is something you're going to be using on the expo floor at a conference. And we all know what the Wi-Fi is like typically at those conferences, right? Oversaturated, overburdened. So Luki and company were doing everything they could to make it, as responsive as possible with just a trickle of bandwidth.
Yes. And also we planned on doing something, but we didn't have quite the time to do it for now. We will do it for V2, is to save the maximum and the most important data inside the computer, inside the browser. So for instance, the favorites, I really like the favorite system. So when you favorite something, it will show up in your IndexedDB. So for SwagSearch, So there is the test domain, is like the test environment where we did all our tests. This is the NRF IndexedDB, and this is the AWS reInvent IndexedDB. So whenever you favorite something, so for instance, this beer can holder, I just added it to my favorite, and if I refresh, I should have a certain line, yes, here. And so this data only lives in your computer, and this is the only way we have to track what you saved as your favorite. And I really like this approach because it's like the app works mostly because of your browser capabilities. Like it doesn't send anything. Like we don't save within the Algolia index like any IPs or who liked what or anything like this. We just save it within your computer, so that then you can find it here, and like in a breeze, you can just click it and access the swag you liked. So some people might use this as like a list of swag they want to get, or the swag they already got, or just the swag they like and they want to find it back. Let's say, yeah, if I wanted the chapsticks, I will just click on my favorite and look where Squid AI was, and I know it was like nearby MongoDB on this small booth, and I will go there to get my my chapstick. And I believe you have some funny stories about swag and beer.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So the one that you were just showing, the Drupal one, that one in particular was interesting. So our booth was kind of on one of the edges of the expo floor, and behind us, when they were doing a little bit of a happy hour, they set up a bar. So they had like the beers and the wines like right behind our booth. And so we had just a stream of people that would come past our booth, and we were kind of showing them like, oh, if you do a search for, beer koozies, you can go find, like, these are the places you could go to grab a koozie. And if you don't know what a koozie is, it's this little, thermal things, the sleeves that you put on your beer so that you don't have to touch the cold bottle, and it also keeps the bottle cold for longer. So we found a couple of folks that had it. That Kentic one was cool, but the Drupal one that you had earlier, I'd never seen this before. That one, if you remember slap bracelets, remember those sort of bracelets that would be just like a ruler, but then when you hit your wrist, they would wrap around them. Yeah. This is that, but it's a beer koozie. So literally you can slap it and it will wrap around the bottle, which is particularly useful if you're drinking something like a Modelo or something that has like an odd shaped bottle. I thought that was brilliant, a brilliant little piece of swag. And then you can go in and it'll show you here on the map exactly where you could have walked to go grab one of those.
So for you, it was not too far from our booth.
No, it wasn't bad at all. And I mean, this is brilliant. Like, you have to understand all the pieces that went into this. Luki was extracting out all of that data from the list of expo presenters. We were grabbing, that's literally, the only map we had was the map that was provided by the conference. And so to be able to stitch all this stuff together was pretty impressive. And I also like that heart, like to your point, like that's a favorite list locally, but that's also using increment capabilities within the API, right?
Yes.
On the index.
Yes. So for instance here, well, you know what? Let's look at the beer ones. Beer can holder. So this is one of my favorite, I think. I just favorited one. So let's check live. Should work. Hope it will. Oh, but I already liked it. But yeah, to my point, so why did we use the favorite? Why do we increment the favorite within Algolia? It's for the ranking formula. So indeed, like the most favorite items will show up, like will show first on the search. So this search, I can expand later on why this dropdown looks like this, but basically this is the result from the companies index, and this is the result from the swag index. And as I showed you when we started, the lightsaber is the item with the most favorite hertz, like that got the most favorites. So it shows first. Then it's a Chromebook. So amazing that people prefer lightsaber than a but yeah, I run got a computer, so
I think there's also like a first in bias as well here a little bit, right? Because we were adding swag as the conference went on, and if you were one of the first ones to get your swag in, then you started collecting favorites a little earlier, which means that you had a kind of a leg up. So there is
Yes,
that too.
yes, indeed, and that's why we created the random filter,
Hmm.
so that it will increase the discovery of new swag. Because
Yeah.
of course, here recently added swag. The first one of the first one was the lightsaber. So whenever people visited the website, they saw the lightsaber and they instantly they liked it. So yeah,
Yeah. And Brian, yeah, that the slap koozie, you could use it as a bracelet, but it would probably be more like one of those like armbands up here. It was really thick. Um, Seraph, I love your topic. I think I need to hear a little bit more. Like when you're talking about using data search for feeding into agents, I think that's a really interesting topic. I'd love to hear more about it. Like, are you thinking like more of like a RAG approach, where these are sort of like your indices are a source of truth, and then an agent is essentially consuming that and then sort of spitting out something a little bit more natural language? I see you're kind of building a protocol. One thing that we're doing on our side is we actually are we've got a private beta of RAG as a service right now, right? So the concept is like we're actually training LLMs and we're allowing you to sort of do keyword search and then ingest that into a large language model so that you can do sort of more, I don't know, agenty or natural language sort of responses. We're just in the early stages of that, but I think, would love to hear more about what you're working on too. Put a little bit more in the chat, but maybe we can continue that conversation in Discord too. So, but I think that's a really interesting conversation.
and that could be a great topic for the next dev chats,
Mhm.
because I mean, I know from my dashboard I could access the RAG builder and this thing, but we prefer focusing on SwagSearch and this today. But
Yeah.
I would be really into talking about this
Yeah.
topic here.
Well, while we're talking, I'm going to see if I can find the link to the RAG as a service info that we've put out. We're still in private beta on it, so there's not a lot out there on it yet, but it sounds like it's right up the alley of what you're trying to accomplish there. So I'll see if I can get a link for that and drop it in chat for you.
But since you asked about multiple indexes, I will go ahead and expand on the building of this specific piece of UI. So I will show some code. So the app has been written in Next.js right here. And so let's check the arrow. In the arrow, we have, where is it? The arrow search. In the arrow search, we have the custom arrow hits. And this is where things starts to get interesting. Oh, where are the all hits? Okay. So here we see that we have swags and companies, which is the object type I showed you earlier. Where, wait, I need to access my Chrome. Oops, I don't know where my Chrome went. Not here. Oh, here. As I showed you, here you have so object type swag and object type company, which reflects on this window right here. Oh damn, I'm having so hard time finding my. Oop. And so then we use multiple indexes. So you have to understand that Algolia in React works in a context-based methodology. So we've wrapped the whole search with an index name, which is the company index, and then we use the index component to show different hits. And so the only purpose of this swag type on the dashboard was just to pass its type to the custom hits. And because it's context based, this one that is not part of this index component, but directly part of the main instant search component, will target the company. And the index here, it's the swag's index name, so the index for swag, that use the same component but just use different layouts depending if it's a company or if its type is a swag. So here you can see that if its type is swag, then we show like a select and like different stuff. And if its type is a company, we show the company its, or the swag hits. And yeah, a lot of work has been made on this, so that in the end, with the same component, within the same component, you can like look for Algolia, let's say, and you have like all the stickers and swags from Algolia, but you also have the company result here. If you type git, I wanted to find one git pod, and if I that's great. Git poo shows git pod and GitHub. But yeah, so that's the way we build it to be able to show different items with the same query.
Mm-hmm.
Did you found the documentation of the RAG thingy?
I found a press release. I'll see if I can find something with a little bit more meat on the bone later. It's the press release is very much in the context of shopping, but it is sort of what you're talking about, Tarif. It's essentially like we call it like the generative AI toolkit. There's essentially going to be an API where you can sort of plug in various indices on the backside. I think it's a single index for now. So I think maybe we haven't quite gotten to that multi that you're looking for. But I would love to talk more, especially because it sounds like you're thinking more in terms of protocols, right? And sort of having an agent that's general use that can go out and retrieve from a bunch of sources and do RAG, and sort of what that would look like at the patterns. I think that would be a really interesting discussion. There's a gentleman who works at Algolia named Paul-Louis Neck, who you two could probably just sit in a corner and talk for hours about this, because this is what Paul-Louis thinks about as well. Anyway, sorry to keep derailing, but I want to make sure that, you know, we're kind of covering all of that as well.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I mean, it's great. It's just a casual discussion.
Yeah.
We wanted the main topic to be SwagSearch, but of course we can discuss everything Algolia and even more everything AI.
Mm-hmm.
So just to get back on the how the swag was added. So we had a bunch of team member on the.
I was there.
Yeah. on the floor, taking pictures and sending them through a small form where you could send swag items. So I can show you here. So like this is the UI. You can go and add some swag. Anyway, it goes through a validation process. So like the swag you had will most likely not get picked, because first the conference is over, and second of all, it's just for the demo purpose. But you would add a drop or take a picture of your swag here, type a company here, for instance, Algolia. Oops. Then you will say expo hall. You will say that it's other, and boom, you will send it for review. But because I'm logged in, it will send it directly to the main front of the UI. Like it will be directly added into the production indexes. So I will not do it. But yeah, this is how it worked. And whenever we had an issue, if we had an issue or something we need to check, we've built this nice dashboard, which is the dashboard for every conference we have right now. So this is, remember, the test domain. This is the conference, the last conference we used SwagSearch in. So you can see that it's the current one. And this was the one for AWS reInvent. So yeah, because we had a little more time and just wanted to make things perfectly neat, we decided to do this dashboard where you could just go and check information about companies. So here, like we have Algolia, we have like the amount of swag, the addition link that we will give to companies so that they can add their swag. If an information was wrong, we could like modify it right away from here. Like if I type hello and I press update, it will update it right away within the index. This is pretty neat as well. It's the view of the actual JSON object within the Algolia index. Like it looks literally like this. Well, we have like these two more attributes used for debugging purpose. But yeah, so this was neat, like to be able to quickly check some information about companies adding their swag, a small canvas showing the swag added per day. So we see that Algolia added 4 swag items the first day, and then the second or third day they added all the rest. Canvas, because why not? All the swag that is present, we can just, like, if someone has shirts and then no longer have shirts, they can contact us. We can just remove the swag by clicking the arrow here. We can view the company page. If I click there, I'm getting redirected to the actual company page. You can search for company, like if there's an issue, like if I type Gitpod, boom, I can check the Gitpod object. I can see everything. So Gitpod was really about Star Wars. It's like older swag is Star Wars.
Yeah. And I want to add that kind of thinking of reducing friction for your users. We had two classes of users here, right? Our first class users were conference attendees that were trying to find swag, but obviously we had to get the swag in. So we had to treat the vendors, the folks on the expo floor, as users as well. And the thing that I really liked is, Lukey was showing off the interface, and I don't know how well you can see on my phone, but here I'm kind of, I took a picture of this Rubik's Cube, and I would tell vendors, hey, can we put your swag in? And they were like, oh, do I have to go ahead and, I got to put my company name and everything. And to be able to say like, no, like actually, just you start typing and there's a type as you go search, Gitpod shows up, like all the data's already in there. We already know your booth, like all of that. That was a huge, turning point for a lot of folks to participate when they found out, oh no, this is all pre-populated. All you have to do is look yourself up and add just the bare minimum of data. It really was a huge demonstration of how like reducing just a little bit of friction for your users will allow them to kind of complete their tasks so much easier.
Yeah, because also one of the challenge, which is not really a challenge, but because it's a conference, people most likely don't walk around with their computers. So we had to make it like mobile first. So the app works dashboard and Algolia employees side or attendees side, like both fronts were like optimized for mobile, so that when Chuck was on the floor, he could just quickly snap a picture, show it to vendors and be like, hey, is it okay if I add your swag? Or even the companies, like the attendees that were working for companies and expoing their product, they could quickly go on the link we will provide and add their swag. It was, I think overall it was a great experience. And I heard that a lot of people liked it. So I think that's what we aim when we create such a playful product, is like to please the most people.
Yeah, we will definitely be bringing it. We took it to NRF, and we'll definitely be taking it to any conference that we attend. But we would love to be able to try to think about the next steps of how to kind of just white label this, so that if you're doing like a conference in your geography and you wanted to add this as a feature, that would be something that you could do as well. There's still a little bit of like heavy lifting as far as like setup and sort of getting your conference in, getting the map in. Making sure that things, plot appropriately for like showing the map piece of it, getting all the data in from all the vendors. But we're getting closer. Like each conference, it gets a little bit easier.
Yeah. Also, what I like about this is, as I said earlier, I did a small talk about it during the last DevBit, the winter DevBit, and I introduced the term Algoctopus, because like Algolia is used for every part of the website, from the domain handling. So here you can see AWS reInvent. When I showed you the dashboard, it's this one. There is one for NRF. There is the test domain as well. And so everything is used within Algolia. There's no other database or anything else. We just stay in the Algolia context, just to show you. I think it's config. No, SwagSearch. It's domains. Here you can see like there is some more attributes that I will not show because they contain sensible information. But here you can see there's a current filter, false, true, false. The one being true is the default one that will show up when you type in swagsearch.com. So really Algolia is used to power like the whole website. And I think like this is just amazing. And something else I really like about working with Algolia. If I go there and I click on discard, I will enter the Swag page. So this is the Swag, the idea of the Swag for the AWS reInvent conference, and it's skateboard.
Mm-hmm.
If I scroll down, I can see similar swags. And this is using looking similar from Algolia. So it's a AI model that finds results based on their visual similarities. So here we can see that, there's a skateboard. The first one is also a skateboard. For a reason, it thinks that the Versal eye patch, I don't know how you say that, but
I can kind of see that. They're all kind of ovals.
yeah, it looks like a skateboard. If you click on socks, yeah, you have a pair of socks. Well, you know what? And it's really fun, like to not to play with, but like to visit the items based on the swag similarities. Like if you look for socks, you could of course use the search here and type in socks. But also like if you're there are so many socks.
So many socks. There were so many socks at the conference.
But if you're playful and you want to check some, if you're feeling like you want to discover like swag by their visual similarities, you can just click on the similar swag experience so that you can see like different swags based on their visual similarities.
So that's coming from a recommend API, which is separate from search. It's like we call it discovery. I don't know if that's an industry term, but we tend to say discovery. And so the recommend API, like there's a couple of different ways you can do recommendations. The most valuable way to do it, I think, is through event data. You can actually power it by click data, aggregate click data, and then figure out like what's trending, what things do people buy if they look at X thing, do they buy Y thing? Do they buy two things together, right? Are they always buying batteries with their wireless mouse, whatever? But then the second way to do it is you can do it based on attributes of the records, right? So you can say, hey, compare based on like the color attribute or based on the category. I think, Luki, because these conferences, we don't have enough time to collect a lot of data, right? The conference is 1 day, maybe 2 days. We couldn't use those models that require a significant amount of data to train, which is why looking similar is so interesting, because it's literally just based on the image. And it can train really quickly based on those images.
We could have used the training items, I guess, and use maybe like or training facet values, I guess. So I'll be honest, I'm not. I love recommend. I use the related items because I know it's based on the textual title. But I fell in love with looking similar because when I work on stuff, I love working with like image or visual stuff, like my CSS videos or the drawing pixel. Like I love things that are visual. So for me, looking similar is like the best AI model. But I guess we could have used the amount of favorites, the number of favorites per item, like to find similar items. But for instance, in our example, if I go back on the home page, we can see that the Star Wars is the most favorited, and then there's a Chromebook. So like both are really liked, but they're really unrelated from one another.
Right.
So it would make sense. But
can't really do a trend for 1 day. You got now if you had a week-long conference, you could start doing things like trending and stuff. But also the models that sit behind these, there is a confidence level that it surfaces, right? So like this is a fun project, so it's okay if it shows like a pair of socks for a skateboard. But obviously, if like you're in a use case where users are gonna lose confidence, you can actually like dial up that confidence level and say like only show things if you're like 85 or 90% confident that that's a match.
Yeah. No, indeed. But just a funny story about the looking similar. So because of the time constraint and the fact that conferences doesn't happen for like a long time, just a couple of days, and people every day added some swag. We needed the AI model to like rework the data, like retrain the data pretty often. So I think by default it does it like once a day. And I sent a message to the one and only Paul Louis you were mentioning earlier. And he told me, yeah, we could. I can give you the endpoint like to retrain the data, but try not to do it like more than 3 times a day because it's really heavy and like
Hmm.
consumes a lot of power and stuff like this. And he explained me that someone somehow found out the API endpoint to like restart a training and abused from it. And so now like they're really careful when they give the access to this endpoint to people. So I was like, you know what? I think it's fine. Just try to set it up like to turns maybe like twice a day just to make sure. But yeah, and usually I think it takes from 5 to 10 hours to train, depending the amount of
Depending
data.
on, yeah.
Like take what I say with a grain of salt because I'm not really sure right now.
Yeah, it depends on the. I think it depends on the number of records you have and all of that good stuff. But it's a fun model, and it's really great for building out those like discovery experiences. Another fun story with it. For those of you who know Learning with Jason, so Jason's been doing like a competitive show, almost like a cooking show, where he brings in four devs and gives them all an app topic and an ingredient, which is like Algolia or some other maybe I know Brian's on here, maybe HighGraph or something like that, and they all have to build using that tool. Their version of that application, and it could be like a fun e-commerce store, or I think one time it was like a knowledge base, but in a fantasy world, or a storefront in a fantasy. He does all sorts of fun ones, but for the Algolia one, they were looking similar, and I think they were using for a little bit a movie poster database, and that's when they discovered that like every single Marvel movie, it's the exact same poster. Like
Yeah.
literally, like it's the exact same poster. The characters are different, but the layout identical. It was really funny to see.
Honestly, that would be fun to run it on the spooky movie search, which
Mm.
like a year and a half ago or something. Like indeed, like I had never thought about using it on movies posters. I think it would be great to do it on
Mhm.
because now we have a lot of data indexed about like movies, companies, and everything. Even logos, we could create a game using Algolia and looking similar, like surfacing only logos that look like another.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I heard about the Marvel ones. They use the same recipe to build the poster. Like there is a central kind of triangle with like
Yeah.
the main character, secondary character, and like the bad guys all around or something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always built around that triangle. So it's very anyway, it's kind of fun to see like the patterns that you don't. Oh, we do love Jason. That's right,
Really
Julie.
do love.
Yeah, so we've been fun little Easter egg as he kind of starts his kicking off the next season of that show. The little countdown timer clock. If you look next to the countdown timer clock, I think he's got an Algolia logo up there, which is kind of fun and cool. So anyway, that's another tangent. Back to SwagSearch. These are kind of like, what about like so we talked a little bit about mobile forward development. Obviously, end goal here would be turn it into a full-fledged application. In our copious free time, maybe we'll get around to doing that. What other things kind of went into it from a mobile first and from sort of like a bandwidth, starved, we'll say, application? What about like caching and things like that?
Yes. So due to the nature of Next.js and Versal, everything is cached by default.
Mm.
I know. So I went on a winter break mid December, and I know that my colleague Loris, that helped me with the map and some optimization, kept working on it and make it even more performant on the Next.js side. So I get like every few minutes the data gets reindexed, and so like when someone goes on a page, we got the latest data. But yeah, if you want to make it like a full-fledged application, like you said, there's some part we can improve. So first of all, like making sure that the image are optimized. So I'm not sure you know, but like there is this nice format that exists, which is called WebP, which is for the same for the same rendering, like a half of the size of the original image you used. So yeah, working with images. So also all the images are hosted on AWS S3 bucket. So it was quite easy to implement. to be honest. I thought it would be longer, but no. So like they're not by default optimized, but then I think Loris decided that we use CloudFront to serve the image in a format that was less big, like the weight of the image was smaller, but the quality was the same. We should make it so that it use when you upload an image, that you turn it directly into WebP or another format that will be less intensive. Data, not loading too many data at once. Maybe doing like dynamic loading as you visit the page. Like I'm not really sure yet. So here's the thing: when I did my talk during the DevBit Winter Edition, I emphasized on the fact that I had like 45 days to build from ID to production, so it was really short. But now that the rush is done, and that the winter break is done, and that we're like starting the new year, and we're like a bigger team working on it, I really think that we will be able to reach a level of application that will be both performant, fun, and easy to use, and really enjoyable by everyone. So yeah, I was really pleased to learn that people really liked SwagSearch, and so I think that's the signal we wanted for us, so that we could invest more time and energy working on it. And I hope that's what's going to happen, because it's really a project that is dear to my heart. And it's really a great project, and I had a lot of fun working on it. I had a lot of fun working on it with Loris, with whom I worked for a few years back then, and then we switched teams together, and now we're working in the same organization together. So yeah, it was really great from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Lucky's to use the words full stack, but Lucky came to the developer advocate team through our website team. So Lucky's been doing, when we talk about like video and CSS, and we talk about our places, obviously you have a soft spot in your heart for CSS and front end development.
Yes.
But it's cool to see kind of, you thinking about the back end of this as well. And to full disclosure, like our first conference that we took this to, we knew it was going to be AWS reInvent. And so like when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. We were trying to kind of go out of our way to use AWS services for the back end, which is why we ended up with S3 and CloudFront. And it was kind of fun for us to kind of like, I think similar to the Jason show, to be like, okay, we have to use these. How do we make these work for us? Like rather than the tools that we're most comfortable with, maybe Cloudinary or whatever for the images, how can we work within this ecosystem? So that was kind of fun too.
Just want to expand on one small thing, which I think might be over engineered, but I don't know. Like for a reason, I really like base 64 format and stuff like this. So if I go on the Swag index, here you can see I showed you earlier. There is like the image with the URL of the image, which is what you see here. But there's also the base 64 data. And you might know, if you're from a developer world, that base 64 can be really huge. The strings are like really huge. But we use this so that we can show smaller representation of the image here without making an extra call to S3. And also, so this is base 64 image. And also to make the blurred background of around like the image, because not every image got the same format. Instead of cropping the image or using a service that will crop an image on the actual product, we decided like for a design coherence to use like blurred representation of images. Each and every card, so that like even when it loads, like you could you could start seeing what you expect to see in the end. But yeah, so even this like loading base 64 every time you make a request can be like consuming for your browser.
Mm.
So I think this might be something that we could improve as well. But again, not a lot of time to build it. So I just went with what I knew. Algolia, my usual like skill set, which is CSS base64 for the UI. No surprises. It's a spin-off of some Tailwind UI um, uh, layouts. So
Yeah.
we took some bits here and there. So yeah, there's some part that are really our own, like the header and like the 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 overall like search experiences, design, and like, but the cards or it's not even from Tailwind, but like, yeah, we use Tailwind, so we use pre-made components to go fast, and it works. But like, yeah, it's I think it was a great project to work on. And drop a message in the chat if you would like to see a dev chat about like all the crazy side project I did at Algolia, because
Yeah.
I would really love to start again the drawing canvas.
Yeah.
It was really a great project. I wish I could show it now, but I will need to rework it a bit and like to start a new index to make sure that the past one is not polluted with crazy stuff.
Yeah, maybe we can, and maybe we can even start building some stuff on here too. Like I like that idea of the logo game using recommend. That could be a fun thing to just start hacking on at some point and let people see kind of what it's like to work with recommend, the looking similar. It's always weird with the looking similar because again, you do have to train the models. So we would kind of have to train ahead of time and then maybe start building on top of it once we had something.
So what we can do is like getting the maximum, like the most logos of companies we can ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then we could potentially, is there a vote system on StreamYard, like where people can vote?
I don't know, but I was actually just about to say that, as we kind of start to wind down here, if people kind of wanted to get, continue the conversation, we can maybe hop over to the Discord and folks, we could set up a poll or something over there for folks to kind of say what they want to see. Because the other thing I actually wanted to ask too is, we're doing this primarily on our YouTube channel because that's kind of where we're used to doing video stuff. But I wanted to do another poll to see if folks like it there, if they'd rather see us on Twitch, if we should do it within the Discord itself. So maybe we can come over to Discord. But if you want to shout out onto StreamYard what you would like to see us build next, go for it. If you're watching this on YouTube later, come over to the Discord and tell us what you want to see us build too.
Yeah, because I would love like to build something together. And I think the logos, I mean, it's we could just do it for educational purpose. It will not be a game per se because I mean, I don't see how we can gamify this logo recommendation system, but it will be a great way for like everyone to learn with us how to build a recommendation system based on visual similarities. But yeah, and there's like a lot of things you can do with Algolia, like a lot of things you can do with Algolia. I just showed a few, but yeah, I love using Algolia for a lot of things. Database, hosting small video clips. It's not made for it, but it just works.
Yeah.
Just works TM. But yeah, and also I would love if we could have Tim at some point of the year talking with us, because Tim is also a crazy mad genius with CSS. He once built CSS search engine, which is crazy.
Yeah, this is Tim Curry. He's another he's staff developer advocate here as well. So we'll see if we can get Tim involved as well. We've got some fun mad geniuses. We could do some really interesting stuff with y'all. But I think sadly we're gonna have to say goodbye for now. If you like this, let us know. Put a comment on the video. Tell us in Discord, and we'll figure out what sort of cadence we're gonna do. Maybe in a couple weeks we'll hop back on and build something else. So, But for now, Luki, I'm going to let you enjoy your, I guess, late afternoon then, if not evening.
Yeah, late afternoon. And well, thank you. It was a pleasure because, I had a lot of things to say about SwagSearch, and I'm really glad I had this opportunity today. And I love this format, like casual chat.
Yeah.
It was really great.
I do too.
I hope you had a great time to all the viewers. And well, see you on the other side.
Yep. See you at the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.